More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. This was a 1946 magazine ad campaign slogan for tobacco products. It's similar to many others throughout history. Advertising for tobacco products has come a long way due to regulation from government organizations such as the FDA. However, we still have a long way to go, which is why I would like to speak to you today about the removal for branded packaging on tobacco products. The tobacco industry, whether you purchase products from it or not, is relevant to anyone learning and studying in a business context because of the size of the industry. We need to be aware of the ins and outs of its marketing practices. According to the CDC, tobacco companies spent $9.5 billion on advertising and promotions. I'm proposing that branded packaging be removed from products due to issues about the ethicality of branding these dangerous products, as well as how marketing is frequently targeted to young adults. A large portion of tobacco companies' target audience for advertising is young adults, given the addictive nature of tobacco products. Because of increased regulation over time of advertising in magazines and on broadcast television, companies that produce and market tobacco products have placed a higher emphasis in recent years on branding of packaging to influence customers at the point of purchase. In other words, when they're at the store, at the cashier's counter making their other purchase. A study done in the UK demonstrated the various effects of these point-of-purchase marketing tactics and showed that removing these displays of branded packaging resulted in a notable decrease in the likelihood of young adults to purchase tobacco products. The decline was tied to a variety of factors that included decreased brand awareness, decreased awareness of product displays, either in their presence or absence, and a more negative perception of the acceptability of using tobacco products due to their restricted access. Research shows that brand awareness is very psychological in nature, influenced largely by the design and relevance of product packaging that a consumer experiences on a daily basis, whether they purchase a product or not. Brand awareness is something that is formed in early years. Young adults and children can be made aware of brands and develop this kind of subconscious brand awareness. Developing packaging for these tobacco products to create brand awareness in young adults is a calculated process. Brands seek to use colors and graphics that contrast the serious risks of use and create a positive message or feeling so that that perception dominates any negative messages or warnings about the product. The package then becomes kind of this active battleground for the most prominent message and likely has the greatest impact on customer perception because other advertisements in broadcast television and magazines are so strictly regulated. So, if we remove this branded packaging from tobacco products, young adults will be less able to form this strong brand awareness and receive the subliminal messages that are created by the branded packaging to reduce perceived risk of using the products. There are also very serious ethical implications, in my opinion, for marketing products that are unquestionably linked to negative health effects. Use of tobacco products is the #1 cause of death in the US, and it's preventable, which means that the marketing of these products is very questionable from an ethical standpoint. Particularly from a Christian worldview perspective, promoting products that are harmful to human beings and create these cycles of addiction and devastation should be an unthinkable practice and one that we should advocate against. Many proponents of the free market and free speech and enterprise kind of criticize these attempts to regulate packaging. They believe there's enough regulation of tobacco products and that advertising is a form of free speech that shouldn't be hampered. However, if you look at historical precedent, it shows that advertising has never really been treated as a form of free speech, but rather as commercial speech, which the government can regulate if there's enough perceived public risk. And I think that's obvious in the case of the use of tobacco products. So, brand loyalty, I want to come back to that for a minute. It's fueled by addiction in consumers. And this is very different in nature to the kind of brand loyalty that companies try to create. Creating brand loyalty is a very significant goal of companies, particularly in the marketing process. They want to create this image of their company that consumers are attracted to and that they want to incorporate in their life on a regular basis. That's very different in principle and in practice from marketing for products that rely on addiction or the psychological and physical dependence on a product. See, marketing tends to subvert the reality of whether or not we actually need a product under our desire for that particular product. This is by and large fairly innocuous and can safely be left to people's judgment, but not in the case of products that cause direct harm. Smoking is a dangerous activity. It results in negative health outcomes 100% of the time. Smoking and tobacco intake harm all organs and increase risk of a plethora of diseases, such as respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. Social smoking or infrequent smoking have just a series of health implications for the heart. So, in conclusion, branded packaging on tobacco products should be removed to support a decline in these unhealthy behaviors, reduce exposure to young adults at the point of purchase, promote brand relationships based on positive consumer outcomes, and adhere to ethical consideration in the marketing of consumer products. Throughout our involvement in business practice and promotion of products and services, we're faced with countless choices to choose what is right over maximizing profits. The choice to remove branded packaging from products that harm consumers is but one example of a necessary choice that prioritizes the consumer above the bottom line. Therefore, I propose that efforts be made to further regulate the tobacco industry in the area of packaging to make the sale of danger that much more difficult.